Good morning, everybody. What's up? What's up? Welcome to Philly with Jon Marks on PHLY, presented by Bet Parks and Central City Toyota. I picked the microphone that the stand here that doesn't. All right, I think we're good. What's up, everybody? Whenever we leave here on a Friday, one of the last things we say is, hopefully we're back on Monday celebrating a big Eagles win. So we're back on Monday and we're celebrating a big Eagles win, and they are NFC East champions once again. And I got to be honest, I didn't see the Eagles having a blowout the way that they did. I think when we left here on Friday, we realized Jalen Hurts wasn't playing. And I'm not the biggest Kenny Pickett fan in the world. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show because it's more about me than about him. But they came out and Dallas had a couple of good drives early, and that got shut down with a CJ GJ pick six and then another interception. And it was a laugher. There was so much stuff happened over the course of a game that didn't happen on the field, like the A.J. Brown touchdown from Tanner McKee and the fight with Sidney Brown. We'll talk about all those things, but obviously the Eagles now are NFC East champs. They are locked into the number 2 seed. So the Vikings win yesterday. If the Vikings would have lost, there was an outside chance that the Eagles could have been the number 1 seed. They didn't. So as it stands right now, it looks like the Eagles, because Washington won last night, looks like the Eagles are going to be playing the Packers in the first round of the playoffs. Now, that could change if Washington loses at Dallas next week. So we still don't know, but certainly the possibilities of the Eagles now facing the Packers have increased. And the Eagles are winning their first round game. They're beating whoever they play in the first round. So I'm not worried about that. It is a different matchup than Washington. I'm excited for the Eagles to get through the end of the regular season here and then play in the first round of the playoffs. Saquon Barkley, and I thought it was notable for a number of reasons, but Saquon Barkley, he got a season high in carries yesterday. You know why? Because they wanted to get him to 2,000 yards because there is zero intention of playing him next week. Make no mistake about this, and it's not what I think should happen because there's obviously no way Saquon Barkley should play next week to go for the rushing record. They will not play him next week. It would be criminally insane and negligent to play Saquon Barkley next week against the Giants. And I understand rushing record. It would be a big deal if he broke the record. And I would love to see Saquon Barkley break the rushing record. If they needed to win the game, if they could still be the number 1 seed, sure, you put him out there and you go for it. He needs 101 yards to break the record. But they don't need the game. They can't do anything with the win. They're locked into the number 2 seed. And putting Saquon Barkley out there to go for an individual record, it's just not putting him out there. Now the entire offensive line needs to play. AJ and Devontae, you can't put backup to backups out there next week. And then is Jalen Hurts going to play next week? So you're going to have your entire starting offense in a game that doesn't matter. So Saquon Barkley can break a record. They had a week 5 bye. The team could use the week off. They don't have the first round bye. So it's not like they would be off for 2 weeks. The team could use a week off, and they're going to get it because they're not going to play Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is not going to go for the record. Can we hear from Nick Sirianni? Here's Nick Sirianni after the game being asked about it, and I was waiting for the question and for the answer to see. But Nick Sirianni after the game is being asked about Saquon Barkley possibly playing against the Giants.
Again, I'll handle that as we go. I'm not thinking about that quite yet. I will get there. Probably later tonight when everyone's still celebrating, I'll be thinking about that and what we need to do. Our goals are bigger. It is a true. I was saying earlier, I think before you got in here, it is true. A big time accomplishment to win the NFC East of all the great teams that have won the NFC East in the past. So that was special. But our goals are bigger than just to win that. We want to win our first playoff game and win our second playoff game and win our third and all the way to the end. And so we'll take that one game at a time. I'll do what I think is necessary and best for the for the team to, put ourselves in that position. But I also am very sensitive to records and all the things there. And so we'll see how it goes. I don't know yet, but we'll always do what's best for these guys. And that could mean play them. That could mean rest them, right? It could be either one. I got to think about that.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, I don't care if he didn't play this week and he missed most of the game last week. There's no way he should be out there. There's no way that any of the starting offensive linemen should be out there. There's no way that any of the starting wide receivers should be out there. No, they're not. Like I don't do sports talk radio anymore. I don't have to fill 4 hours. So I don't have to play this game. He's not going to play. And Nick Sirianni is probably not going to announce it today. I'm assuming he's doing his usual weekly hit today because he has to actually have a conversation with Saquon Barkley. Because of course Saquon would like to break the record, but he's not going to. It would be insane for him to play. The offense would literally have to go to Nick Sirianni as a unit and say, we insist that we play against the Giants, which I can't see them doing. It doesn't make any sense. If he needed 40 yards to break the record, all right, I'd still be 100% against it. 101 yards isn't easy. That's not a quarter of play, and then you get the guys out. You got to grind for that, and your whole offense needs to be out there. So I'll just leave it with that. They're not playing their starters next week, nor should they. As the Eagles have now won their second NFC East title under Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni is the first Eagles head coach to record multiple 13-win seasons. Multiple. He's led the Eagles to the playoffs in all 4 of his seasons as head coach. 47-20 in the regular season, 70% winning percentage, highest among active NFL coaches. As we welcome in Tyler Zulli this morning. I think if people still aren't willing to give Nick Sirianni credit, it's time to at least begrudgingly give him credit. What he's doing, it's working. They fell apart last year. No doubt about it. Historic collapse. They're in position to make another run at the Super Bowl. And you have to give Nick Sirianni a lot of credit. There was a crossroads at some point this year. They were very easily. I mean, I was wondering, hey, if they lose this game to the Browns, could he be fired? If they lose to the Saints and start 1-2, could he be fired? So he turned the season around, and it's time to give him some credit there, Tyler Zulli. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you as well. I think he's been excellent, right? And I think good coaching and good talent on a roster go hand in hand a lot of times. And, he's done a nice job of, for the most part, pulling the right strings at the right time and kind of figuring out what, when to be aggressive, when not to be aggressive. Like you saw it yesterday where there was a 4th and 1 early in the game and he elected to punt because it wasn't Jalen Hurts. And if it was Jalen Hurts, there's a pretty darn good chance they go for it, but
Agreed.
He decided to not. And then on the inverse, down at the goal line, when they didn't score on the first tush push with Kenny Pickett and they take the timeout with, however many seconds left, I thought he was going to kick the field goal. He decided to go for it. They scored the touchdown. And instead of going up, what would it have been?
20-7, I guess.
20-7. They go up 24-7. He's done a really nice job of pulling the right strings at the right time for a majority of the season. The questions around the Bucs game specifically, the Falcons game specifically, I think were fair at the time. And now we look back at it and they've won, 11 of their last 12. And those questions don't exist anymore. No. And they shouldn't exist anymore because all this guy has done over the course of his tenure, for the most part, is win.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I hadn't even thought of those instances that you gave right there. I agree with you. That punting the ball, they were in their own territory. Yeah, you don't do that with Kenny Pickett. At that point, that you're better than the Cowboys, and you don't need to take chances. And I thought he did the exact right thing down on the goal line at the end of the half because if Pickett doesn't get in there, it's not you're done. Wasn't that on 4th down, or is it just they wouldn't have had enough time?
They wouldn't have had enough time to run another play. But they were aggressive in a spot that they realized if they do score, they're going to get the ball back to start the second half.
Right.
They could double up Dallas here, and this game could be over.
And it was.
Yeah,
no, it was. Yeah. So Eagles, probably Packers. I mean, who the hell knows? Does Detroit come out? Detroit's got to come out tonight and they got to beat the 49ers on the road, right? That's going to be isn't this game pointless for Detroit? Because if they beat the Vikings next week, then that's really all it comes down to.
No, because is it because Minnesota won? So they're what, 14-2 now? Or are they?
They're one game behind, and they lost to.
Well, they're 14-2, and the Lions are 13-2.
Right. So if they lost tonight,
yeah. So I guess it theoretically wouldn't matter because they would be 13-3. If they beat the Vikings, they'll be 14. Both teams will be 14-3, and the Lions hold the tiebreaker over the Vikings
if they beat them twice.
Correct.
Right. So maybe they don't play their starters tonight. I kid. All right. Well, let's get to the headlines because I was up late watching the Sunday night game where Atlanta absolutely, Raheem Morris absolutely did his best job to lose that game for his team, and he did. We'll get to that coming up as well, but let's get to the headlines with Tyler Zulli. Tyler, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, let's do it. Of course, our headlines are brought to us by our friends at Glad Hair Restoration, and if you want to improve how you look and how you feel, head on over to gladhairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started. Yeah, we'll start there at the Sunday Night Football game last night, as you mentioned. It was the Washington Commanders pulling one out in overtime, 30-24 over the Atlanta Falcons. Jaden Daniels was excellent in late in the second half and into the overtime period. 227 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also led the game in rushing. He ran the ball 16 times for 127 yards. So in total, over 350 total yards for the Washington quarterback as they improved to 11-5 on the season. It is their most wins in a season in a really, really, really long time. And they're also 7-2 at home this year. They've been excellent in Washington this season.
They have. You forget it. You don't realize how annoying it is when you have a quarterback that can break the other team's back, especially on third down with running the ball like we have with Jalen Hurts. It's awesome when you have that quarterback, but when you're playing against that quarterback, as we saw last week, God, you hate that guy. And especially at this point in his career, Jaden Daniels is a dual threat, and it's scary to think if they can build that team right around them. I like their head coach a lot. I think Dan Quint's is a really good head coach. Now they're always going to need an offensive coordinator that can call good plays and have a good team. But your scheme's right there with Jaden Daniels. So it is. Yeah, they're a good team. They're a good team. So they do what they're supposed to, and they beat the Cowboys on Sunday night. Then or next Sunday, then they're going to go. They're going to be the 6th seed, and Eagles would avoid them. Now, what I was talking about earlier with Raheem Morris, they had 2 timeouts. And he elected to not call timeout. And this was with, trying to pull up exactly what time it is right here. It's 40 seconds left. So how it goes is that Penix throws the ball. It's a tie game. Penix throws the ball complete up to the 45-yard line. Now, instead of using one of those timeouts, they don't use it. So it takes them 17 seconds to get up to the line of scrimmage, run a play, and it's an incompletion. So they didn't even spike it. They tried to run a play. So now they have the ball, and they end up running out of time at the end of the game. They have to take a 56 or a 58-yard field goal as opposed to having a couple more shots to get a much more manageable field goal. After the game, he said that he looked back at it and he probably could have taken the timeout right there. But yeah, I mean, if I'm an Atlanta Falcon fan, I am mad as hell this morning because the head coach take a timeout. You get 2 timeouts. There's no way. Even Mike Tirico on the broadcast was like, the Falcons will take a timeout here. Well, they're not going to take a timeout, right? So it was a head scratcher in the least there, Tyler Zulli.
Yeah, so obviously a handful of NFL games with some playoff implications this past weekend. Obviously, we talked about the Chiefs earlier in the week. They clinched the number 1 seed in the AFC with another win. They're 15-1. Again, we'll talk about the Lions and the 49ers tonight. We'll do that tomorrow. But a handful of playoff implications, and not just playoff implications, but draft implications. The New York Giants no longer have the number 1 overall pick after beating the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. And not only beating the Colts, but dropping 45 on the Colts yesterday. In what was, now the Colts had a very slim outside chance of making the playoffs. It was like, a percentage point of a chance. But they came out flat, and the Giants now have broken what I believe, is it a 10-game losing streak they snapped?
It's their first win at home this year.
Yeah, and it was their first win at home. They're now 3-13, and instead of being in place for the number 1 overall pick, they now trail New England, they trail the Browns, they trail the Titans, and there's a chance that they may lose out on the quarterback conversation at the top of the draft.
Yeah, I saw Carl Banks, one of their legends. He's been doing the radio call on WFAN for a really long time now, and he had said, and he's right, but it's not the point. So what's difficult is, Tyler, and I'm not breaking any news here. They don't, like, the coaches and the players aren't tanking.
Correct.
They're not trying to lose games. They're trying to go out there and win games. They're worried about if they're going to be back with the team or other teams. They're looking for their next contract or making sure they're getting paid next year. Drew Lock was playing like he was in the Super Bowl.
Well, and that's the thing. When you're playing a guy like Drew Lock's looking for his next job, right? He's trying to become a starter in this league. Now, I'm not sure if Drew Lock's ever going to be a starter in this league, but he's trying to become a starter in this league. And
sure is.
That's one of the risks you run is you have a prideful group. They're professionals. They're grown adults, right? They're out there doing their job. They're not worried about next year.
No.
But I think the fans are thinking about it. Jon Marks is probably thinking about it.
Oh, for sure. The general manager is. Like, it's because you're never going to tell your coach. Like, remember when Doug Peterson, he didn't know how to properly lose the game, and he kept Jalen in a little bit too long against Washington, and everybody went crazy because it was obvious. He took him out in the fourth quarter when it was a game. I think the Eagles were winning. And he's like, oh, well, we wanted to get Nate Sudfeld reps, and he's a really good player. So it's like, unless you're like, if they really wanted to lose the game yesterday, you put in Cutlets. You know what I mean? And I'm assuming he's healthy enough to play, and then you're going to lose the game because he stinks.
They let Tim Boyle play.
Yeah, like Drew Lock's not a bad quarterback. I mean, he's a good backup at the very least. So, I mean, hey, listen, maybe they found their quarterback of the future. Todd, nothing made me happier yesterday than watching the Giants go back and forth with the Colts in the fourth quarter and win that game. So what Carl Banks, the point he was trying to make was that while the Giants right now have the fourth pick, the Patriots are number one. They don't need a quarterback. The Titans are number two. They should need a quarterback. The Browns 3. I mean, there's an opportunity to trade up. The problem is you can get jumped by some teams that want a quarterback. Like maybe the Jets decide that they want Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, and they go from 7 all the way up. The Raiders obviously need a quarterback. Yeah, see, that win yesterday by the Raiders was horrible because they were in line for the first overall pick. Now they're all the way down to 8 with their 4th win. So anyway, yes, that was beautiful with the Giants yesterday.
All right, let's take a look at some of the local teams this weekend. The Flyers, with the split over the weekend, they win on Saturday afternoon in Anaheim, 3-1 over the Ducks. It was the first time that the Flyers and Cutter Gauthier got a chance to square up, and we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks as Gauthier will make his return or his debut, I guess, in Philadelphia on January 11th. But the Flyers win 3-1. Matvei Michkov did not play in the third period in that one. John Tortorella said it was his call. He made that decision. But no issues the following day. They go to Los Angeles. They lose to the Kings 5-4, but Michkov with 2 points, a goal and an assist in this one. So the Flyers split their weekend series against the Ducks and the Kings. The Flyers now 16-17-4. They'll be back at it tomorrow night as they continue their West Coast road trip. They'll be in San Jose tomorrow night beginning at 8 o'clock. And then, of course, they'll wrap things up on the West Coast in Vegas on Thursday, the second late-night game. They won't be back home, though, again until Tuesday, January 7th.
Wow. You know, because I saw it. I was looking. I was like, all right, maybe before my kids go back to school, maybe we'll go try to check out a Flyers game. I went on the Game Time app. I'm like, all right, let me see the Flyers and the – no, they're not.
Well, it's the Disney on Ice thing, right? The Flyers and the Sixers every year at this time are hit the road. Most of the time they're on the West Coast. But yeah,
you're right. Disney on Ice screws them.
Yep.
Because I've been down the Disney on Ice multiple times over the Christmas break last couple of years.
Yeah. So Flyers back at it tomorrow night against the Sharks. Sixers, meanwhile, they win on Saturday night in Utah. They're also on a West Coast trip. They win 114-111 over the Jazz. Both Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey with 32 points apiece in this one. The Sixers now have won 4 of their last 5. They're now 12-17 on the season. Now, granted, the Jazz have not been very good this year. They're 7-23. But the Sixers have suddenly found themselves in right back kind of in the playoff contention. They're half a game out of the final play-in spot. They're just 2 back of the 8-seed Indiana Pacers. And like I said, they've won 7 of their last 10. They've won 4 of their last 5. And they are currently on a 3-game winning streak.
Yeah, I thought it was a good win I know the Jazz stink, but still, like that's one of those games that you go out there and you kind of fall asleep, especially around the holidays or whatever. That was a good one by the Sixers. It feels like they're ready to go on a little bit of a run here. Hopefully Joel can stay healthy and everything else, but it's a really good win.
Yeah, so the thing with them, right, they've beaten up on some of the bad teams that they've played over the last couple of weeks, right? They've beaten up on Charlotte. They beat the Bulls, who are not particularly good. They beat the Jazz, and you go, are they just beating bad teams? But that win on Christmas against the Celtics,
great win.
Kind of makes you feel more comfortable, right? Makes you feel like, okay, they could string something together. And listen, I know a lot of people are in the camp of like, I'm not like falling for the facade again, right? I'm not doing the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote running into the wall thing anymore. Because that's what the Sixers have been over the last couple of years is painting the wall like it's a tunnel and running into the brick. But for as poor of a start as the Sixers had, they're 5 games under 500. Yes, they're going to have to continue to string some significant streaks together to get back to 500, but there's a lot of season left to play. And I think that this is a team that's talented enough. We've talked about this even when they were, 5-14 or whatever they were.
Right.
It's a team that's talented enough to get into the playoffs. And when you get into a play-in scenario, they're probably going to be the best team in the play-in tournament.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, who knows where they are at the end of the season? Maybe they don't even have to do that. But I'm not sitting here. I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. I don't expect this team to reach the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. But could they? Sure, absolutely. I mean, the ceiling's there. It's at some point. When are they going to figure it out? What's the year that they figure it out? So we'll see. Anything else, Tyler?
I think we're good. I think we're caught up on our headlines for today. But if you've got something, you let me know. But I think we're pretty much caught up.
Yeah, I got something coming up on the other side. AJ Brown. A lot of extracurricular stuff with the game yesterday that was fun. AJ Brown tosses Tanner McKee's first touchdown into the stands and then takes care of it himself. It was pretty amazing. We'll play it for you. Also, Sidney Brown got thrown out of the game for a fracas down in the corner of the end zone. We'll play the video for you. That's all coming up. Philly with Jon Marks on PHLY. Why? Well, here's why. Glad hair restoration. Do something for yourself in the New Year's. And that doesn't mean on January 3rd, you're at the gym on the treadmill. And by February 1st, you haven't seen the gym in 2 weeks like I've done many times. All right, don't do that. Do something for yourself. Do something for your hair. If you're thinning or balding, and it's interesting, over the last couple of weeks when I've thrown this out there to people, like, hey, DM me, send me an email. If you heard me talking about Glad hair restoration, and I'll answer questions for you. I have pictures of my before and after. I have pictures of the day I had the procedure done, a week after, 2 weeks after. I took videos. I chronicled the whole thing so you can kind of see what you're getting in for, right? And the results are amazing. If you want hair restoration and you don't want anybody to know that you had it, they don't have to know. You line things up. You can take a couple days off work. Boom, you can get it done and you don't have to worry about anything. And Glad Hair Restoration, best in the business, most experience, most success. Their hair team, over 30 years of experience in hair restoration. And that doesn't mean because they were doing this 30 years ago that that's what you do today, because science and technology obviously has improved over the years and they're at the forefront. They're at the top of the business when it comes to hair restoration. And I'm talking about the country. Forget about the Philadelphia area. Right? I'm talking about the country. Glad hair restoration, #1. And maybe you're not going bald as badly as some people. Maybe you're just saying, hey, I'm thinning. I don't like the direction it's going. All stages of hair loss, Glad hair can help you. Vitamin supplementation, which is very effective and very popular these days. Just reach out to them. GladHairMCTR.com. GLAT hair MCTR.com. Or you can speak to their hair team by calling 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000. Or once again, reach out to me on social media. Jon Marks Media. JONMARKS Media. Slide into my DMs. You can email me, johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. I'll answer any questions. I can even connect you with good people over at Glad Hair. So check them out, gladhair.com. All right, listen, let's talk about it. Bet Parks. It's like, all right, what can we do fun? This is where I am right now with my wife. It's like, all right, we had Christmas, New Year's Eve is coming up. Like, what can we do in the first 2 months of the year so we can feel like real adults and not just parents that deal with our children all the time? Well, it's a great idea for checking out Bet Parks. The Excite Center at Bet Parks is unbelievable. If you're looking for a concert, you're looking for a comedy act, there's a ton of stuff going on. Larry the Cable Guy's in May. Get tickets for that right now before they sell out. January 18th, and I'm doing it, baby. The Reggae Sounds of Shaggy. Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains, February 8th. Magician Michael Carbonell. That seems like a good date night. Check them out, parkscasino.com for all the details. Pennsylvania's #1 casino, right in the Philly burbs, close to everybody and everything. Tickets on sale right now. And the food. And you don't even need to go to get food before the show. Liberty Bell Beer Garden. Unbelievable burgers and wings, things like that. Parks Grill Steakhouse, high-end steakhouse. I've had amazing meals there. And the Bamboo Noodle House, which is very good. ParksCasino.com. You can buy tickets for all shows. Parks Casino, this is how you win. By the way, Eagles are 3.5-point favorites on the Bet Parks app right now over the Giants on Sunday. That's going to be without their #1 offense out there. And check this out. We talked about the Giants picking 4th. When they beat the Eagles on Sunday, they may be picking 10th. So they'll really screw themselves. Take the Giants plus 3.5 right now. Do it. Do it on the Bet Parks app. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, there you go. Tyler, before we'll play this, we'll go through the A.J. Brown thing. What's your opinion overall? Which is, it's funny. You had the same reaction. You walked in, you're like, so Sports Talk Radio is going to be talking whether the Saquon Barkley should be playing balls to the wall 100%. On Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's, of course, going to be the conversation piece. To me, I'm cool with a handful of touches early. Like you can only like healthy scratch so many guys, right? And you can only have so many inactive. So there are going to be guys that play. Like it's not like you're starting 5 offensive line and everybody's going to be out, right? So you're going to have guys that do play. I'm cool with a couple of early touches, right? I don't want him to feel like he's rusty in any capacity. And again, that's going to go up to Nick Sirianni. It's going to go up to Saquon Barkley. It's going to go up to the running backs coach and the offensive line coach. Like it's all going to work in tandem. So I'm cool with some touches early. I don't need 20, 25, 30 carries for him. It just because, they're trying to get him a record.
Break the record.
To me, 2,000 is an incredible accomplishment. You rushed for over 2,000 yards. It's the most by any player on a new team in their first year ever. It's an incredible feat. And I think Saquon Barkley is the type of player who would prefer to win playoff games and to win a championship. Now, you and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago because you were talking about maybe throttling Saquon Barkley back a little bit. And to me,
they didn't do that yesterday.
To me, that doesn't work because you had games to play for, right?
Yeah,
you were trying to win the 1 seed. You're trying to win the division. You're trying to get a bye. Now, you're not going to be the 1 seed. You're not going to get the bye, right? It's going to be the winner of the North is going to get that bye. But you've locked in the 2 seed. You've locked in the division. You've locked in at least 2 home playoff games should you advance past the wild card round. I think at this point, there's not anything that's worth playing for that a title or a record would usurp. So for me, it doesn't make a ton of sense. Again, if he needed 20 yards and it was like a pop play, go get your yardage and come out of the game, sure. But I get it. They're going to give him some touches, but it's going to mostly be Kenny Gainwell. It's going to be a lot of
Davis Price.
Right. Davis Price will get touches. It's going to be a lot of mix and match. I would imagine Tanner McKee probably starts the game.
Kenny Pickett should not play. Tanner McKee's your starter.
So I think that in this instance, that throttle back is because there's a larger picture in mind. The larger picture up until this point was all the things we just mentioned. Now it's just a record. And it would be awesome to say, hey, Philadelphia Eagles running back Saquon Barkley holds the single season rushing record. But to me, what's more important now is being ready to play the Packers or play Washington.
Yeah, of course.
In 2 weeks.
The Eagles did Saquon Barkley a solid by getting him over 2,000 yards.
Sure.
It's 31 carries yesterday. Like, Jesus Christ, the game was over. They were giving him the carries. And I was fine with it. We just had an Eagle running back run for 2,000 freaking yards in 16 games. which is crazy to think, right? Like, what a great signing by Howie Roseman. They don't need the entire first-team offense out there so he can try to break a record, a rushing record. Sorry. They needed the game, bro. I'd be all for it. I'd give him the ball 40 freaking times to get that number 1 seed. They don't need it. He's not going to play. And I hate to be incredibly dismissive of something. I don't need to fill 4 hours, so I can do that. This is the last we're going to talk about, at least today. He's not playing next week. He's not playing next week. It'd be crazy to play him next week. All right, so Tanner McKee came in. He only threw the ball 4 times, but it felt like he threw a touchdown every time because the one got called back for a holding call. But, man, he threw a couple nice balls. He threw the back shoulder to AJ on one-on-one coverage, and he really threw it like he threw it perfectly. But he gets his first NFL passing touchdown to Tanner McKee. And AJ Brown, because he's excited, right? He's not thinking, so he tosses the ball in the stands. And then I guess he went over to the sidelines and he's like, "Oh bleep, I should have kept that and given that to Tanner. That's his first. It's his first touchdown." AJ Brown's a good dude, man. Tyler said this to me this morning, and I was thinking it yesterday as well during the game. Like he's a good dude. He gets it. He's been incredibly good to Eagles fans, and you can tell he appreciates playing ball here. So he goes over. Big Dom's over there with him, of course. And he's just talking directly to the dude that caught the ball. And he's saying, like, "Hey, I got you. I'll give you my jersey." He's going to give him the jersey right off his back. I don't know if they gave him anything else. Just for, like, "Hey, give me the ball back." And you got to understand, if you're the guy in the stands, you're an Eagle fan. Like, yeah, I would much rather have the jersey off AJ Brown's back. And now you're, like, locally famous for 36 hours as well. But, I mean, I thought it was a cool moment. AJ went, he didn't have to do that. He could have just been like, "Oh, crap, Dom, go over there and see if you can get the ball back." No, AJ put it on himself and went over there. It was like he was in the stands with the fans. So I thought that was awesome. Do we have the video of it? So here's AJ going in the stands, having the conversation with the fan.
When Nick told me.
This is after the game. That's right. Sorry.
And I felt so bad because I threw it so far. So I'm glad we got it back for him.
It was like a pretty big team effort to get that ball back. Were you following it?
Yeah. That's a good thing. We got great fans here. They brought the ball back. So I gave him a jersey in exchange. So.
What'd you say to Tanner when you gave him the ball?
I just told him I apologize and congratulations. Well deserved.
How much were you excited to see him get a chance to finally play in this game and play well?
He stepped in. We didn't think he was gonna play. Kenny was a little banged up, but Kenny was a warrior. He was fighting all day. But he stepped in and he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't know if he was necessarily excited. I don't know if he was doing backflips. He did a really good job. Tanner McKee looked really good with limited passes, so that was cool. Now I have to say this, and this is me again, self-evaluating, which is what I'm learning to do in therapy. Tyler Zulli, is that Kenny Pickett did a good job again yesterday, maybe with the exception of the one play where the ball just went into the ground. I just can't stand watching him play. I can't. I can't stomach him. I can't take it.
So
and he's fine. He's fine. I know it's me. It's not him.
I have never been a huge Kenny Pickett guy. I thought, he was okay at Pitt. He had good numbers at Pitt. And I mean, University of Pitt, not in Pittsburgh. He was average as their starting quarterback in Pittsburgh as the Steelers quarterback. He's probably a good backup, and that's not something that even I felt like I was ready to say, but he was good yesterday. He was very, very good. The first 2 drives, they went pass. It was ineffective. The first drive, they went pass. The second drive, they went run. It was 2 ineffective drives in a row. And then, I think that he started taking what Dallas's defense gave them. The run game started to open up, and he made a couple of really nice plays, including the touchdown to Devontae Smith, that I thought it was encapsulated. It was a fully encapsulated good play. He drops back, he evades the rush, he steps up in the pocket, he gives himself some extra time, and then he throws a really nice ball to Devontae Smith that Smith catches it in stride. It's a good route by Devontae Smith. Easy pitch and catch for the touchdown. It was a good throw. It was a good read. It was a good step up in the pocket. I thought Kenny Pickett played well yesterday. I got to give the guy credit, especially battling the rib injury. That
he took a shot,
battled through it. He took a couple of shots, and then obviously finally it got to a point where it's like, all right, dude, the Eagles are winning this game handily. Don't take any more unnecessary hits. We're gonna get you out. But I thought he played well yesterday. I got to give him credit. I've given him a lot of flack for the quarterback that he is over the last couple of years. I have to give credit where credit is due. He was really, really good yesterday.
Yeah, an under perhaps Tyler a underspoken about play of the game was on 3rd and 8, and it's a 7-7 game at this point. Kyle Katera with a one-handed catch, which was a huge play because otherwise they're punting there because they were at the where were they? They were right around like midfield. I think they were in their own territory a little bit. Yeah, they were at their own 46, so they punt right there because that'd be a 4th and 8. And Greg Olsen, I don't know. Like I used to think I thought he was really good last year. Now I can't stand him. But like on that play, he was being like, oh yeah, he's like comparing him to Jalen Hurts throwing on the run, and it's like, I mean, the tight end made a great play at that point. Pickett hadn't looked good, but what a great catch by Kyle Katera. So they drive down, they get a touchdown, 14-7. The Cowboys fumble right away on it was it Ferguson that fumbled the ball, and then the Eagles get the ball back. They go on an 11 play. This is hard to do. 11 plays, 26 yards, and they get the field goal. And then from there, the floodgates kind of just opened up, and you got I mean, how about CJ GJ? How important this guy is to this defense, man.
Well, and it's kind of funny, too, because if you think about, I saw a lot of people on Twitter, and they were probably right to an extent to say, the Eagles defense didn't look the sharpest on the first 2 drives. But if you think about it, right? And
that's their MO this year.
And I'm not going to disagree because they gave up, I think, 4 third downs on the first 2 drives. But if you do kind of put it all together, the Eagles defense was on the field for 8 straight minutes effectively with the pick 6 in between because Dallas had a pretty sustainable first drive before the pick 6. And then they had a sustainable second drive that led to the touchdown, right? So the defense wasn't excellent in the first 2 drives. I'm not going to say they were great. They did give up a handful of third down conversions. And, I thought Dallas was running the ball effectively on their first couple of drives. Rico Dowdle was getting, into the second level pretty consistently. But they went 7 for 35, ends up with the pick 6. Then they go 12 for 70, and they end up with the touchdown. So between the 3:17 and the 6:05, it ended up being over 9 minutes, basically, that the Eagles defense was on the field for. They got beat on that second drive, but after that, the drives for the Cowboys were punt, fumble, interception, punt, fumble, missed field goal, punt. That's the end of the game. And the Eagles now have created, 9 turnovers off the Cowboys in 2 games.
It's unbelievable.
They had, let me see, the 2 fumbles, the 2 interceptions, 4 yesterday. I think maybe it's 8. It's either 8 or 9, but a ridiculous number in 2 games against the division rival. The defense swarmed after that second drive. They were really good after the first 2 drives.
They were indeed. All right, coming up, we'll go through the Sidney Brown fight, which was interesting. Also, Greg Gumbel passed away over the weekend, which I didn't know that he was that he was going through cancer, and just you don't realize how long somebody does something and how accomplished he is. Sometimes you take it for granted. So we'll talk about that a little bit. That's all coming up right after this. Philly. With me, I'm Jon Marks. So, hey, what's up? So check it out. All right. Let's talk about Central City Toyota for a second. All right. Uncle Jamie. Hey, listen, a lot of people not working. It's the holiday season. You're able to kind of take some of the PTO, right? And then you got to get back to work later this week for real. But Uncle Jamie at Central City Toyota, he's not using PTO right now. He is right now in his office at Central City Toyota in the heart of University City, 55 years on Chestnut Street, because it's Toyotathon. You know what that means? Great deals on certified pre-owned Toyotas, certified Toyotas, new. Check out their inventory. They have a sister dealership as well, Ardmore Toyota. They have everything both dealerships have. CentralCityToyota.com. You're not going to get better selection. You're not going to get better prices. They do something down there where it's a very transparent process they have when purchasing a car. They give you the price pretty much up front because they're not trying to play pricing games. They're not trying to rip you off. You stay in business for 55 years by doing right by the customer because they know You'll be back for your next car. You'll be back for your next car. You tell your family. You tell your friends. I'm a 20-year customer of Central City Toyota, and it's not just because my Uncle Jamie's the GM. It's because they're an amazing, amazing business. CentralCityToyota.com for service. If you're working in the city, man, check it out. They'll come and pick your car up wherever you park it, service your car, drop it back off by appointment at CentralCityToyota.com. Largest service and parts dealership in the entire city of Philadelphia. Again, it's my Uncle Jamie. Just bust through the door. Make sure they're open. Don't break in. But when they open, Central City Toyota, right in the heart of University City, just come in and start yelling for Uncle Jamie. And his picks, he was 4-0 last week in his college football picks. He did them last week. I'm going to repost them before the game because Penn State's got a big game coming up on New Year's Eve. CentralCityToyota.com. Check them out. All right, C-Jam. And I didn't get a name of who won their big giveaway because they this is what a family-owned business and home remodeler does. All right, they have a toy drive, and they did it in December. Saquon Barkley, Kelly Green jersey, and a Yeti cooler were given away to one lucky person out there that bought an online raffle ticket, which I did, and I did not win. At least I don't know if I won. All right, but like that's why when I say C-Jam Construction, that we here at PHLY and Philly with Jon Marks, we're a community and we're building a community and we're growing, right? So just like with any community, if you're doing business, you want to do business with people in your community. C-Jam Construction. So if you're looking to get a deck, do it right now. So when spring comes, you have a great new deck, and they do amazing custom decks, bathrooms, flooring, whatever your home project need is, you should consider C-Jam Construction. And if you mention PHLY, say, hey, listen to Philly, listen to Ant, heard about you guys, 15% off when you contact them. C-Jam Construction, 856-329-2933, 856-329-2933, or their website is CJam, the letter C, Jam, construction.com. Google them, look at their reviews, telling you amazing family, listeners to the program, viewers to the program right there on YouTube. You'll see Mark on the comments a lot of times. CJamConstruction.com. Check them out. There you go. All right, so remember last year, Sidney Brown, was it the last game of the season or the second to last game of the season? He goes down with the torn ACL, and he had shown some promise. It was a shame to see. So he comes back this year, and because of he had the ACL injury so late in the season, he wasn't going to be ready by training camp in the beginning of the season. And they drafted Cooper DeJean, who has been unbelievable. Reed Blankenship's a really, really good starter. So now he's a backup, right? So you see him out there in certain situations, you see him on special teams. But what you saw yesterday, so this was after a punt, right? I don't know what led up to this. I didn't see any videos. I saw different angles of the actual fight, but they were obviously scrapping in like the corner of the end zone. So do we have the video? This is kind of the aftermath where, I mean, he got put to the ground and then he wasn't having it. And you can tell, like, this is the kind of player, I don't know if Sidney Brown is going to be the kind of player that is in like a specialty role of being your big thumper and everything else, or is he going to be like, is he a starting caliber player, or is he kind of a Swiss Army knife that can come in, maybe he plays a little bit in the box when what's in the box when they go to a dime package or something like that. But like anybody that looks like he has a screw loose on the field is okay by me. So here's how it transpired yesterday. After the play was over, after the punt was over. Go ahead, Tyler. You can roll it right now if it's ready. I mean, I love, like, he wasn't throwing punches or wasn't stomping on somebody's.
He said, ask you after the game about Joel. Yeah. So Joel won't be able to.
All right. Well, let's just scrap it. We don't know what started it. Here he goes. Back to belly suplex. He just slammed him down. So he got tossed. He got tossed. He's probably going to get fined. He's not probably going to get fined. He's going to be fined. But I'm okay with it. I don't have to pay the fine. That was awesome. Greg Gumbel. Tyler, when you think of Greg Gumbel, what do you think of? Because I certainly don't. I don't remember him with ESPN. I didn't realize he was close to 80, Greg Gumbel. But like he was the first voice, or one of the first. Like he was with the original lineup of WFAN radio, WFAN in New York, when they, however many years ago. He's one of the original voices doing sports radio, which obviously is a lot different now. It's more personality based than anything else. But like Greg Gumbel, to me, is one of these versatile Olympics. He could do anything, right? And I never thought of Greg Gumbel as, like the best in the business, as maybe Joe Buck's looked at, or Jim Nantz is looked at, or Bob Costas was looked at. Dick Enberg for many years could do the Super Bowl and then do Wimbledon a couple of months later. But Greg Gumbel, I mean, like he was the first black announcer to do a Super Bowl, and then he did another Super Bowl a couple years later. Just like versatile studio play-by-play. He was he's one of the greats, man. He was one of the greats and was still doing it.
Yeah,
So
I think that versatile is a great word to use, right? You think about a guy who did the NFL, who did college basketball, who did
college basketball. What am I talking about?
In
Final Four,
in studio stuff, on the field stuff, in the booth stuff, like a guy who did a little bit of everything, and was very, very good at all of it, right? I think college basketball to me is what I most remember him for. That's probably what I'll always think of when I think about Greg Gumbel, is him doing the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's weird that I just totally glossed over that I guess I think of him more as the NFL Today, because he was the number one play-by-play for CBS for a long time, right? Well, at least for the NFL. He had left CBS for NBC when CBS lost the NFL. I guess he bounced to NBC, and then when they got it back, because you remember Fox took the rights from CBS and got the NFC. And then Gumbel came back a couple years later. But he's 78 years old, man. He is, for Bryant Gumbel, who was I believe, a much bigger deal earlier in his career when he was the co-host of Today and everything else. I don't even know what Bryant Gumbel does anymore. Does he still do that show on Real Sports on HBO where nothing is out of bounds? Yeah, Bryant Gumbel came off as a kind of a hardo, like I'm very important broadcaster. Greg Gumbel never had that feel. He just, Yeah, Jimmy Carter also died, I saw overnight. What's your go-to Jimmy Carter story, Tyler? I'm just kidding. 100 years old, Jimmy Carter. But yeah, it's amazing that the last pictures. Did you see the videos around the holidays? They had him out there, and it's like, holy crap, man! He's been on hospice for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think for me, like Jimmy Carter is was an excellent humanitarian, right?
Yes.
Won the Nobel Peace Prize, did a ton for a lot of underfunded and underprivileged people. Was excellent at the people-to-people part of not just politics, but like life. Did a pretty good job of post-politics, not politicking.
Better
right?
post-politic than president.
Yeah, I think you say what you want about him as the president, but I think everybody across the aisles will tell you he was a great man, was a great humanitarian, did a lot of great work for, like I said, for a lot of different people. Again, Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Does he make your top three? Yeah, Nobel Peace Prize. Does he make your top three presidents? Your go-to?
No.
Who's your number one? Who's your number one president? Who do you go to?
What do you mean, like all?
Who's your favorite president?
Well, if you're asking, like, who's of my lifetime? Are you asking of all time? Because
it doesn't have to be your lifetime.
Like, I think the first ones you go to, right, are George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
Abe is a very popular president, yes, for good reason. See, I go in my lifetime, and it's however you want to look at it. I go Ronald Reagan, and probably Bill Clinton second. But Abe, if I was going with Abe Lincoln, Grover Cleveland had 2 separate stints as president, not consecutive, similar to Donald Trump. So there you go. So Tyler Zulli, who will not be on the program tomorrow. I would be negligent, since you, of course, do the Penn State podcast here on PHLY. I'd be negligent not to ask you how you're feeling and your thoughts on the game coming up. On the standalone game on New Year's Eve, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I really wish they were playing on New Year's Day because as a father of a 2-month-old, 11 o'clock end of the game is going to be very late for me. But I feel good. I mean, I did a video the other day, and I think it's easy to like take the low hanging fruit of a game and say, this is the best player on the field. Try to stop that player, right? But when it comes to Boise State, it's pretty true, right? Ashton Jeanty is, to me, the best player in this game. I think on both sides of the ball. I think Abdul Carter is second. But I think if you're saying to me, find the best player on both sides of the ball in this game for both teams, it's pretty clearly Ashton Jeanty. With that being said, I do believe that Penn State's a better team on both sides of the ball. Like, I think Penn State's defense is better than Boise State's offense, even if Ashton Jeanty's the best player. I also think that Penn State's offense is better than Boise State's defense. This is going to come down to, point of contact tackling, right? If Ashton Jeanty is routinely getting into the second level and Jalen Reed has a ton of tackles and your corners have a ton of tackles, and it's not, Tony Rojas, Dom DeLuca, your front 7 as your leading tacklers, could be a long day for Penn State's defense. If they're wrapping up at the point of contact, his yards per carry after contact is lower than it is across most of the season. If he's not shedding as many tackles as he did. John, I didn't know. I found this out the other day. I was looking into the numbers. He breaks a tackle once every 5 tackle attempts.
Wow.
He's at 0.2 broken tackles per tackle attempt. That's insane to me. Like, that is, like, I was looking at a graph, and he's like all the way up in that top corner of like broken tackles per attempt, right? He's going to be the best player on the field. But to me, I think Penn State's a better team. I feel good. I think they should win this game.
Yeah, I agree. They're 12-point favorites. You would really have to, they would have to come out and not even lay an egg. They'd have to turn the ball over and allow Boise State, especially early, to get some big plays and to get a lead. So I agree with you. I take Penn State minus 12. The other games here, Texas, Arizona State. Texas is a big favorite in that one, minus 13. God, that's a lot of points, man.
It's a lot of points. I mean, let's tell you that Vegas thinks that this is where the Cinderella Arizona State run ends.
Ends at big time, too. Ohio State minus 2.5 over Oregon, which, I mean, a 6-1, you'd figure that Oregon would be the favorite in the game. They're not. They're underdogs. I'll take Ohio State minus 2.5. And then Georgia, Notre Dame. At least on paper, this is the game that is looked at as being the most competitive. Georgia 1.5 point favorites over Notre Dame.
I'll be honest. I think I've been back and forth on this one.
Me too.
I think I'm leaning taking Notre Dame outright in this game.
Georgia just, and now they have the backup quarterback. Maybe that's a good thing because I think Carson Beck stinks.
I'm not a huge Carson Beck guy either. I think the Notre Dame defense is really good.
Do you know who the coordinator is of the Notre Dame defense?
I did, and I was talking about him the other day, and I forget who it is.
How about former Al head coach Al Golden?
That's right, it is Al Golden, correct.
And I didn't know that until I saw a piece on ESPN.com before, I guess, their first playoff game. And I'm like, really? He's a defensive coordinator? He bounced around a little bit, Al Golden.
Yeah, he sure did.
Obviously Miami, but after Miami, he got into the pros. And in the pros, he was at Detroit. I think he had one other stop too as well. But yeah, I'm excited to see the Penn State game as well. So Penn State possibly, they get a win, they make the semis, and now we're cooking with fish grease right there.
So listen, I hate to be like over dramatic about the whole thing because they could theoretically lose to Boise State this week, but for the team that didn't win the Big Ten championship, for a team that lost to the 2 best teams that played this year, there's a reasonable chance Penn State could be in the national championship.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
For sure.
Like, if you would have said at the beginning of the year, hey, do you think Penn State's going to win or play for the national title? I'd be like, no. Like, they should be in the playoff, right? 12-team expansion. There's no team that benefited more in terms of, like, outside looking in over the last decade than Penn State. But I would have said no. Like, Georgia's better, Ohio State's better, Oregon's better, Texas is better. And that's probably all true, that they're all better than Penn State. But now I look at it and I say, they beat Boise State, which they should. They're better than them, I believe.
Their most impressive wins will have been in the college football playoff.
It'll be,
let's be
SMU
honest.
and Boise State up until this point.
Yeah.
And then they beat Boise State, and then all of a sudden they're playing either a Georgia team without their starting quarterback or a Notre Dame team who's very, very good. But I do think they would stand a chance against. I cannot believe that I'm saying this on December 30th. You know, if Penn State wins this week, there is a chance they go to the national championship. Oh, and by the way, the Northeast Philly Degenerate Bowl that would be Penn State and Notre Dame would feed families for years.
Well, I mean,
there would be internal fights within families.
I would have to say Notre Dame is stronger in the Northeast than Penn State by a hair. I mean, you would have to talk about Notre Dame calf tattoos that would be out on display.
Oh, the Fighting Irish.
Holy cow, man! It'd be crazy.
The calf tattoos.
Oh, between the Eagles and Notre Dame. I mean, I believe it's 63% of Northeast guys over the age of 35 that have that.
Is that a scientific number?
Yes, it was a Gallup poll.
Ah, okay, nice.
A couple years back.
Yeah, well done.
But it changed a little bit. By the way, the only thing better than Penn State winning and making it to the semifinals would be Penn State losing to Boise State and not making the semifinals.
Well, I mean, I disagree. I disagree.
For me, I'm just saying for me.
Yes, I get why you're saying it, right? But yeah, I think there's a very legitimate chance it's Penn State Notre Dame in the semifinal bracket.
That'd be awesome.
You know, a team that we were eviscerating for losing to Northern Illinois, and a Penn State team that, you know, has been really, really good all year. But I can agree, even as a Penn State fan, like the two best teams they've played this year, they've lost to.
Yep. Yeah, Illinois coming into the playoff was the best team that they won. But I mean, I guess give them credit for not stumbling a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if they lose to Minnesota, they lose to USC, they're not playing, right? I would think they might be.
They got bailed out in that USC game,
sure,
too.
Right? And I'm not going to disagree with you, but, you know, sometimes you just have to win the game in advance, right? Like, survive in advance is a mantra in football specifically.
It's crazy because the template for keeping James Franklin was this exact scenario this year. That if you get lucky in a certain year where your team's really good and matchups work out or whatever, this is how you make the semifinals in the college football player with James Franklin.
Yeah, I think things work out.
All right, hang on. Shout out to everybody watching on TV on Xfinity. Go to allphly.com to see the rest of the show.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think things worked out for them this year, and they lost the Big Ten championship, and schematically, it might have been the best thing that happened to them, right? I'm not going to argue with you in that capacity, but I do think that this is one of the better Penn State teams of recent note. Like, I think it's probably the best Penn State team since the one that won the Big Ten in 2016.
The last thing I remember with Penn State's Michael Robinson. He was a really good college quarterback.
He was.
And that was a good team, too.
That 05 team was a really good team. Now, the funny thing about that team is, I always find it funny because Penn State fans are like, well, Penn State could have had if they would have just, was it Michigan that year or was it Iowa?
Yeah.
I think it was the Mario Manningham touchdown. And they go, oh, if they would have just beaten Michigan, they would have been undefeated. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So they get into the national championship, and it's great they're playing in a national championship. They would have gotten eviscerated by either Texas or USC that year.
Yeah,
Vince Young would have gone nuts on them.
Talent difference between those two teams and everybody else was crazy.
But I do think this is the best Penn State team, at least since the 16 team. And
they're a good team. It's a good team.
It's good defense. It's a really good defense.
Coming up, Ant. So click over to Ant. Appreciate everybody watching. All PHLY is how you get our newsletter. And Rich Hoffman Jr. puts it out every morning. Now, it's a little scattered over. Like, it's not New Year's Eve. You're not going to get the newsletter. But it is PHLY Daily. So pretty much everything you need for Philadelphia sports, you get it right there. So I look at it every morning before I get on the air. It's kind of the sports page that you need. And he does a great job with it. Happy New Year to everybody. Or Happy New Year to Tyler, because I'm not going to see him tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow for the show. But shout out to all the Mad Chatters and everybody that watch on YouTube every morning live at 8 o'clock. you don't get a chance to catch us live, you can watch it at your convenience. It's always available on YouTube. And special shout out to all of our podcasts, our audio podcast listeners, as I am truly an audio person at heart. So appreciate you listening on podcasts as we try to grow this thing. It's available every morning shortly after we get off the air, just wherever you get your podcasts. Search Philly Philly with Jon Marks and give us a fantastic 5-star review. Everybody have a great day. We're back tomorrow live at 8 a.m. See you.
We all city like the mayor.